in Ghana's central region are investigating a deadly house fire in Akyempim that claimed the lives of a woman and her 6 children. The blaze is suspected to have been deliberately set by the husband. The Ghana National Fire Service confirmed that the victims included the mother, 5 children, and 1 to 15, and the eldest daughter. All were trapped inside the room when the fire ignited. Investigators believe the suspect locked the family inside before starting the fire while they slept. The intensity of the blaze left the victims' remains charred beyond recognition. Footage from the scene showed residents assisting emergency workers in retrieving bodies from the burnt structure. Onlookers were visibly shaken as the extent of the tragedy became clear. Hours later, the suspect was found dead in a nearby bush. His body was discovered hanging from a tree, pointing to suicide. The incident has left the Akyempim community devastated, with the motive for the act still unknown. Let's talk about this story. Let's talk about the story from, the angle of why don't couples, as it were, when these issues arise, try to fix it. Why do you think a man would take the life of his wife and his 6 children in a murder-suicide case? Let's talk about this. What are your thoughts on this report?
It's a sad one, and the more I look at it, the more it makes more towards, like I've said on the show, I don't always like to summarize things under the idea of mental instability, but when I see cases like this most times, I just feel like this is beyond what a sane person would think about doing. Marriages can be hard. Marriages can be difficult, but deciding to end things like this is just way over. And we cannot ascertain what would have happened. But if I'm going to just vaguely try to play it out, I would think maybe it's a marital issue, or mental instability. Those are the 2 things that comes to mind. And people out there should, like I always want to show, women out there, even men out there, should try to make things work out. And when you see things are not working out, you need to, keep yourself safe and your kids. Something must have happened before this situation played out. I'm sure it's not just something that just happened, in a week. So, as a woman, if you've noticed that your husband has become aggressive, hostile, and all that, you should try to ensure that at all times you try to keep yourself safe. It could have happened regardless, but I'm just trying to, make sense of such a sad story. 6 kids that have not even tried to explore what life is. And obviously the man intended to commit suicide already. So for him to drag his family with it, I feel it's more like a marital issue. And like I always say on the show, people out there should be very, very, very careful with people they are, people they are seeing, people, they are meeting with.
All right.
Right, but the moment you begin to notice changes, we are humans. Situations, conditions can even lead to, someone having suicidal thoughts and suicidal thinking. But in this part of the world, I'm not against any religion or anything, but, like I said in the first report, in as much as we always try to pray for ourselves safe, we pray to God, or whatever tradition you are, you pray for safety. You always have to play your part in keeping yourself safe. So, I think that's what I have to say regarding this story.
Now, let's talk about the fact that, around many African communities, many African societies, the ideology and expectations comes to managing your marriage rather than the decision to say, I can't do this anymore, it doesn't work for me. Now, this used to function a lot more in the few years before, where you'd have mothers. You hear people online say things like, "Oh, my mother or our mothers knew how to manage marriage more than ladies of nowadays want to or intend to marry, manage marriage." Now, when you look at that sort of story and those arguments, do you think that we should move to the point where, instead of this dastardly act of killing 6 children and the spouse, people decide to talk about their issues look at it holistically. Can we fix this? Can't we fix this? And if it's not going to work, everybody walks away. Pending, regardless of, you know, societal thoughts of people saying, oh, this marriage broke down, you're unable to keep your home. I mean, do you think that other than people even leaving, as a people, we should be kinder to people that their marriages don't work? Do you think if we move a little bit in that direction, would have people walking away from marriages that are no longer working freely, that succumbing to act of this sort of action this man has taken?
Hopefully we are going to get to that stage. But as of this point, given the society we live in, it's going to take a long time for us to get to that level. The reason why I say that is because culturally, just like you cited, you know, when a marriage does not work, you know that stigma that comes with it, especially for the woman, you know, religious speaking as well. You know, most religions we always say, oh, submit. I'm not against submission and all of that. I'm not against trying to make your marriage work out. So I'm telling you, divorce is a sin. So the next question I ask people who say that is, so the woman should literally die there before you know that it's not a sin. You know, then there is societal view of people as well, just like cited. You know, some will say, oh, in quotes, now woman, you do woman. You know, a woman might be going through issues in her marriage, and someone will literally still be pulling the stigma card on the woman, or the society in general. Let's not even make it a gender thing now. You know, people will say, oh, is that bad habits that we make her. You know, we forget that these things, you know, the thing about marriage is it's not fixed, right? It's not same for everybody. So I don't know why people always try to not understand what someone who is probably going through that issue is trying to say at that point in time. Like this story, I'm sure if they begin to do some findings, I mean, in this part of the world, by the way, I'm sure, okay, let me not say I'm sure, cases like this end up, you know, with no investigation done, because people will be like, oh, how are we going to find out, or how are we not going to find out? But in sane societies, they begin to pull out, you know, people that have spoken to and all that, and you find out that, you know, there was something going on, which, you know, like I said earlier, something could have been wrong. So for our society to get to that level where we try to support, or we try to understand what someone is going through in a relationship or in a marriage dynamically, it's going to take a long while. You know, given these three factors I stated, you know, religion, cultural, ideas of norms and societal norms as well. Right. Until we sit together, you know, in all these arms and tell ourselves, okay, in as much as this is what our culture or our religion says, there are cases where things could be tricky, you know, things could be dynamic. You know, it could be a small thing, but the moment you begin to notice these things, like I said earlier, some people will tell, oh, I'm going to speak to my pastor, and the moment you get to your pastor, or the cleric or your imam will tell you, oh, just endure, it's going to get better and all of that. Right. I'm not against endurance. There are cases where things get better, but there are cases where it does not. Right. I mean, just to digress a bit, I think there's this story that has been trending about this woman that accused her husband of raping
3 children.
2 daughters.
Yeah, 2 daughters.
That's a different dynamic on its own. Right. Some people are saying, oh, you see, we cannot generalize that, because there are cases where people have been true. But now, of course, there's something going on in that family for the wife to literally pull such a card on the father of our children. Absolutely. So, different dynamics to these things. Right. We should just keep open-minded and be much more objective and critical with things like this.